People, Deluded, I'm back again. A quick video now. Obviously Raul Sanllehi has left, and while we've still got Vinay in charge, we've got Edu. So on the face of things, you know, we knew Vinay is basically combining Raul in his role. You've got Edu, who's the technical director. So on one hand, this, you know, not much, and we still got Hosfame with the transfer. So on one hand, Arteta can still be a head coach. He's still, you know, it's not like a Wenger or Alex Ferguson thing. But at the same time, for me, I'm happy to know that he's getting more of a say in transfers. Don't get me wrong, with the way we're working and to a degree the model, I do think he's going to have to deal with plan B, C, T, D targets. But I do think it's risky for to expect a manager to play players or sign players that he has no or little say in. So to hear Arteta and Edu are going to be in charge of transfers, obviously Edu is the technical director, see the possible variables, Arteta gives his opinion. You've got Hosfame and Vinay, the number guys and the legal work team to make things happen. I think that's a real positive. It just highlights Arteta gets more flexibility in his team to do what he needs to do within the context of things. And this screams, as much as I'm not fond of the Kroenkes, that they're giving more power to obviously Arteta and Edu. And this tells me that, you know, Raul Sanllehi's position, it became a thing where he's failed to deliver his promises, and it's like we're paying you, and it's like we've got other people to do your roles, or we're moving differently. This tells me they believe in Arteta. This tells me, and again I say back subjectively, back in, because to be fair to the Kroenkes, they do have what it seems to be, when they believe in a young coach, they will give him time, give him resources and give him balance. And this tells me that they believe in Arteta, because Emre wouldn't have got this. Emre, could you imagine, maybe Raul Sanllehi would have done it, but could you imagine saying Emre has control over transfers? To a degree, you could say he deserved it. He wanted Partey and Nzonzi and Zaha, and he got different targets. Maybe he would have done better if he got them targets. So I'm keen to see what actually happens, people. What really happens. And for Arteta, it means he's got more of a say. And for me, it seems like Arteta and Edu, out of everybody you look at the board, they seem to be the ones that get it the most. You know, you hear Edu was the first person to contact Arteta and they hit it off. Obviously, they're both former players and they want to return Arsenal back to it. Obviously, they seem to have similar thinking. You know, the case of Guendouzi is the best one. So when people are working in tandem, it's decent, because to a degree, we're still collaborating and it's never just one person. But we tried to do you know, Wenger, Alex Ferguson thing, where they're more than a manager and you had a Glazides. We've tried that. Then we tried to have a collaborative effort where everybody brings some sort of expertise, and it's still a collaboration thing. And I wouldn't say it was a failure, but it's shown you really that we've done two different ways and it hasn't really worked out either. So it seems that we're going to 50-50 sort of thing, where it's a bit of collaboration, but the shackles are off Arteta, and he's shown that he needs to be backed and he's shown that he needs to be helped. And you know, we've got a tough summer. We've got 14 players that have that contracts run out in the last 2 years. We need to get players out. We need to bring players in. We've got the Community Shield to come soon. We've got the season starting soon. We've obviously seen changes at the boardroom. There is some streamlining, but it does seem, I don't know anything that's happening, but I do think there is something that could happen, people. If we look at it as well in relation to Sanllehi, apparently The Athletic reported that during Sanllehi's tenure, scouting and analytic departments felt sidelined from the recruitment process. That led to the departure of Stats DNA founder Jason Rosenfield in March. Just last week, Raul Sanllehi and Edu decided head of international scouting Kai Gio was to leave the club, along with the majority of his global scouting network, which we've lost all of them. Unlike Glazides, Sanllehi did not hold a seat on the Arsenal board. Instead, Kroenke Sports Enterprises recently decided to appoint Tim Lewis, Stan Kroenke's lawyer in London, to the board. Lewis, who advised Kroenke on his takeover of the club, has been tasked with ensuring the business operates efficiently. Sanllehi liked to act as a sort of conduit between the club and Kroenke Sport and Entertainment, KSE. The club's enterprise owned by Stan Kroenke, making sure he was involved in as many discussions as possible between the club owner, and initially there were stories of a friendly WhatsApp group with transatlantic messages pinging to and from the director's box during message. So what happened? And you did hear stuff like Raul Sanllehi, you could only speak to certain players with him present. Like apparently with Emre, you could only board members wanted to speak to him, but you could only speak to him with Sanye present. And if you're not a board member but having that sort of restricting control, it is dangerous, because as much, you know, our board make wrong decisions, but our board are kind of being alienated. People like the Raúls are alienating themselves. There is too many grey areas, and we did need this review. We probably did need to streamline to this capacity, people. So it was expected and it was coming. So we'll have to see what happens, people. I mean, you look at it with Edu. One thing you're hoping with Edu, like I said, he's a former Arsenal man, and for me, I'm not saying he gives me the Bayern Munich vibe, but he gives me the Bayern Munich vibe in that, you know, they've got former players above, and as much as their advisors and technical staff and stuff, it feels like their technical staff feel like players. They feel they feel like the fans, a sense of urgency to fix things, and I hope to get that from Edu, because like I said, he likes to travel with the players. He likes to be a part of what they're doing, as well as obviously doing his own role. So when you're there, you're living and breathing with the squad, you immediately get that different feeling. We all know what Arsenal need. You don't necessarily have to be there week in, week out, but when you're there, you're a part of the brotherhood. I think there should be a bit more of an urgency to try and turn things around. I won't go as far as to say Edu is a novice in his role, because he's held it in Brazil, but he is really, you know, new to his role, same as Arteta. So there is a degree or a margin that believes we've got to allow margin for error in a time where everything needs to be spot on by Arsenal. But at the same time, just because of that doesn't mean that they're not doing things differently. They might have different approaches. Nobody cares that Arteta doesn't have experience right now, because he's doing his job. So I think because they just seem to be the two footballing men at the club, they seem to get between each other. I'm all for that, man. And apparently it goes, you know, Edu is not the man who leads in the transfer market, so there is a vacuum there. He goes back a long way with Kai Jarupkin, and again, you know, Kai Jarupkin's his client, whose clients have been involved in 3 of Arsenal's last 4 deals. So Edu can pick up the phone to someone well versed in the machinizations of the market. It's early, people moving like I can't read. Apparently it said it requires Edu as a technical director to step up and assume more responsibility for negotiations. Alongside him, Farme continues with contractual work. Crucially, Arteta himself can be much more involved in decisions on players and potential recruits. It is a vital window, so this collaboration needs to gel quickly. It has been described within the club as more bandwidth for Arteta and Edu to overtake football discussions that would have previously been down to Sanye and Ventekasham. Describes the pair as a formidable team. So we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully it's positive, people. On that note, people, DG, I'm out.